Hey guys, it's your girl with the word, Kara Celeste. Today's a pretty bleak day outside, so that's why there's not much beautiful lighting. Yesterday I did a video commenting on the show Cuties. Yeah, I didn't much. I don't hate the movie. I think the concept, again, is really a really good idea that I think adults need to hit on. However, how it was executed, again, I think you are just handing soft pedophilic porn over to the pedophile. So again, I just think there was a better way that we could have executed going about filming that. I end up talking in the video a lot about how we treat our youth today. A really big quote that I'm kind of living by right now as a teacher, as an adult, is you can't forget that the children grow up. You can't forget that. You need to understand that in the future, we live in their future. They start to make the decisions. They start to run the world. So however we're deciding to train our children, to discipline our children, and sometimes in a lot of public schools, not discipline them at all, let them have the autonomy to decide their gender, how they should eat, what they should want to do. All of those are good things, but not at such a young age. They don't know the rules yet of the game. I talk about this idea of the game in my last video, so if you want to go watch that, go for it. So I am a server at a restaurant, and I keep this receipt in my my checkbook. So this receipt is actually so old that the stuff wore off of it, the heat strip, it wore off. But the little note that I got from a girl at prom night still stands. It says, if you couldn't read it, tip, don't tell a teenager what to do, period. I will tell you what led up to that little notation that I had to read with no tip. I got a big tip from all of her friends, but not her. So I work at a pizza restaurant across from a high school in Atlanta, Georgia. The kids are just, let's put it this way, nobody likes to serve from 3 to 4 p.m. because that's when the kids get out of school, and it is a madhouse. These kids are so undisciplined. These are like upper middle class to rich kids that come into our restaurant of all ethnicities, of all religions, all of them. But they all tend to subscribe to one type of culture, which we could watch in Cuties, honestly. I have seen kids behind the Trader Joe's next to where I work having sex. We have walked in on kids in our restaurant having sex. Now these kids are in high school, and some of them, there's a middle school down the street, so those kids will also walk down to our restaurant. We've caught some of the middle schoolers having sex. So yeah, I'm going to be very blunt. Parents, this is your child, and they are about to lead your future. So you're allowing them to ruin themselves. So anyway, this group of kids comes in, and they're just dressed like they would rather stand on a street corner than go to college, get an education, be a nice civil person. And one girl in particular just has this attitude. She's cute. This could be a promising young woman. And so she's sitting there. It's basically a table full of girls and a few cute guys. You can tell they're either freshman or sophomore. The girls look a lot older, again, because they look like they would rather want to stand on a street corner than be a CEO, be any type of something else. So one girl is just being so rude to me, the girl that wrote this, and something was said, and she stands up, and you hear her chair like screech across the floor, and she's starting to buck at this guy. Now you have to understand, it's a long table, there's a lot of food, these kids are we have to deal with them from 3 to 4 all the time. So now it's like close to closing. They just got out of prom. They're probably jacked up on Mountain Dew or some other drug that they were able to get on because it's Atlanta and these kids are wild. And so I just point to her as a teacher, as a young adult, and I say, you can either sit down and stay calm or just go rampant. And I said, I advise you sit down. So she sits down, doesn't say much the entire time. Her one other friend that was with her didn't tip me as well, but everybody else tipped me. She obviously is not liked. People just hang out with her because she has popularity, she has some type of connection. It's the only reason why people hang out with her. So I get this note, right? And I'm infuriated. I've never been talked to like this. Well, I had when I first started dancing at my dance studio, or teaching at my dance studio. So I walk outside and I go, who wrote this? Knowing who wrote it. And she very proudly raises her hands, I did. And I said, do you know this is the most ignorant thing I have ever heard anyone say to me, especially at your age? So, having been talked like this before from students who are of her same age, similar age, I have to ask, and I ask this all the time, teenagers, what do you know besides the internet? Our teenagers today take less action than the teenagers from the 90s, from the teenagers of the early 2000s. We are so hooked onto our phones. And like I said in my last video, parents, you are so hooked on your own time that you allow your kid to have the phone so they can be distracted, so you can go off and do your thing and get distracted at what your kid is looking at. All of this selfish disciplining, we see where it gets us. Teachers who are giving up because they can't take care of the kid because the kid is so defiant. So they just give up. They resort to the teacher union. They don't care. They're only going to work to teach your kid for a paycheck. They're not even teaching your kid anything. In fact, they resort to the same things the parents are starting to resort to, which is like, we have a laptop, just look up the lesson. Or, hey, just copy down this PowerPoint. That's it. Your kid is getting by with this is what you call a lazy, selfish, privileged society. So, as I'm looking up, there are so many, but this is a 10 commandment now. So there are so many Bible verses that say, honor your father and mother. In fact, in the Old Testament, which is the Old Covenant, which we don't live by today, atheists out there that love to quote the Old Testament and say this is how Christians live. No, we don't. The Old Testament says if you dishonor your father and mother, if you slap one across the face, you'll be stoned to death. Because there's a hierarchy here. You have God the Father, who you're supposed to respect. Right under him is your parents. And then there's you. God is all-knowing. Your parents lived before you. They've been through the same exact crap you have, and now there's you. So you learn from your parents. Your parents are learning from their parents. Their parents have this all-knowing power of God, and God is the all-knowing power of everything. He knows everything, the things you don't even know. So to disrespect your parents, again, is disrespecting the ultimate Father. That's a biblical worldview. Not only that, if we look in the New Testament, we want to get literary here. If we look in the New Testament, every time there is the verse of children, obey your parents. We see servant, obey your master. Citizen, obey your government. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Those Bible verses, those commandments right there, are always together, and we see it 5 times throughout the New Testament. So, as I was doing some work, I love quoting Proverbs when it comes to this stuff because it's a proverb, right? Proverb, when we're proverbial, I don't know. When we're talking about Proverbs, any type of proverb, whether it come from the Bible, whether it come from the Tao Te Ching, whether it come from Buddhism, a proverb is an all-knowing truth. So I came across these proverbs in Proverbs 19. I'm going to read 18 first. Discipline your son while there is hope, and do not desire his death, because sin equals death, right? Not only that, this is the Old Testament Proverbs. So like if a child slaps you, they get stoned. So again, discipline your son while there is hope, and do not desire his death. Jordan Peterson says this: don't allow your child to do anything that will make you hate them. Because again, they grow up. They are an extension of you. They are part of your future. They, once you get old, they make the decisions. So are you going to allow them to be a bitter child? It goes on to say in verse 19, a man of great anger shall bear a penalty. For if you rescue him, you will only have to do it again. Another thing Jordan Peterson says, such a wise dude, don't save anybody who doesn't want to be saved. And because if you keep saving them and giving them remorse and blah, 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 you're going to have to keep saving them. Yeah, that's a thing. Another thing is, part of love, and if we're talking about the biblical definition of love, is being truthful and honest. People love to come to me as a friend because they know they're going to get an honest answer. They know that I'm going to tell them the truth. They might be a little bitter at first, but they see what I'm saying. And they honestly go back and try to right their wrong. So parents out there, I'm going to leave you with this. Don't forget, they grow up. And what their future is dictates your future. Let's pray. God, you are an amazing God. You have given us a word that is all-knowing, all-powerful, so honest. We have to suffer through it. But we know that suffering is meant for good, and it is meant for life. You are a gracious God. You defeated sin. You defeated death. You're an amazing, wonderful, all-knowing God and an all-knowing Father that we can trust and look up to. Give us this day that we may teach the children to love and be obedient, not only to their elders, but to you, Lord, because that is the ultimate obedience. That is the ultimate way of truth and of life. We love you, God, in all that you are and all that you do. Amen. And thanks, guys, for watching. I can't help but go over 10 minutes. You're an amazing people. Love you.